Your family's inability to love you was not neglect. It was quarantine. You were not born into that house to be loved. You were locked into an energy prison. That dark lineage carries a pact centuries old, bound in chains, sealed with curses, fed by a demonic covenant. And you were imprisoned within 4 walls built specifically to prevent light from seeping through. That home was not your sanctuary. That home was your battlefield. The kingdom of darkness saw you from the first day. They noticed that divine spark within you, that heaven-born breath, the sprouting of that consecrated seed, and they panicked. This is why they locked you out of that table. This is why they rendered you invisible at that dinner. This is why every glance was a freezer, every word a blade, every touch ice, because you did not come there to belong. You came to detonate that system from within, and the dark powers knew you had to be extinguished before you could awaken. But they failed. You remember it in your body, don't you? That unmovable lump in your throat when you sat at their table. No matter how much you swallowed, it wouldn't go down. It sat there, hard, sharp, suffocating. The tightness in your chest when your mother looked through you as if you were glass. That burning beneath your rib cage. That fire that never went out. That ache that had no name. The way your breath became shallow when your father entered the room. How your nervous system screamed danger even though nothing visible was happening. How your hands would tremble for no reason. How your stomach would twist into knots before family gatherings. Your body knew before your mind did. Your body was reading a frequency your conscious mind couldn't decode yet. It was registering a spiritual warfare your intellect hadn't named. That cold sweat in the middle of the night. That chronic tension in your shoulders. That exhaustion that sleep couldn't cure. That feeling of your heart racing even when you were sitting still. This was not anxiety. This was your nervous system recognizing the assault. Your body was a battlefield, and every cell was screaming, "This is not safe. This is not home. This is not love." But no one taught you that language yet. So you thought something was wrong with you. There was nothing wrong with you. You were under siege. You know Joseph's story, but you have misread it. Everyone sees that pit as victimhood, as catastrophe, as a hole his brothers threw him into. No, that pit was a strategic descent. Joseph's brothers didn't throw him into the pit because they didn't love him. They didn't throw him in because their father loved him. They didn't throw him in because he dreamed dreams. They threw Joseph into the pit because they feared him, because there was something in Joseph. A gleam, an authority, a heaven-marked signature, and that signature threatened their dark inheritance. They wanted to crush it, destroy it, silence it. But the pit was not Joseph's end. The pit was Joseph's consecration chamber. In that dark hole, Joseph was not alone. In that pit, angels surrounded him. In that pit, heaven sealed him. In that pit, the spirit of kingship was transferred to him. And when he emerged from that pit, he was no longer a son. He was a sovereign. Now I tell you, you too were thrown into a pit. That house was your pit. That cold table, that invisibility, that silence, that rejection, all of it was a pit. But listen to me. You did not rot in that pit. You were forged in that pit. You were ignited in that pit. You were sealed in that pit. And now you are emerging from that pit. But the place you emerge into is not a prison. It is a throne room. If you had not fallen into that pit, you could never have ascended to that kingdom. If you had not experienced that rejection, you would never have found your own authority. If you had not tasted that pain, you could never have carried that power. Joseph's pit was not his disaster. Joseph's pit was his ordination ceremony, and so is yours. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace. He ate from golden plates. He slept on silk sheets. He walked the palace corridors, but he never belonged there. Moses was a stranger sitting at Pharaoh's table, his body present but his soul in the heavens. Every glance held a question mark. Every word held distance. Every moment held loneliness. They called him prince, but he never felt like a prince. They called him family, but he was never seen as family. They told him he belonged, but he lived every day like a shadow. And it was that alienation, that chronic sense of not belonging, that set him free. Because if Moses had been Pharaoh's true son, he would have chosen to stay. If he had been loved there, he would never have left the throne for the desert. If he had belonged at that table, he would never have built his own. But that alienation awakened him. That coldness opened him. That rejection prepared him for assignment. You too grew up in a palace, a dark palace. You too were a stranger there. You too sat at that table, never speaking, never seen, never touched. But now you understand. That palace was not your destination. That palace was your training ground. Moses learned in Pharaoh's palace how to speak, how to govern, how to fight. But what he truly learned was this: how to be in the system, but not of it. You too. You learned in that family how to be invisible, how to stay silent, how to survive. But what you truly learned was this: how not to belong to that dark lineage. And now you are no longer a stranger living in Pharaoh's palace. You are a prophet walking your own wilderness. Now I reveal to you the greatest mystery. You did not come to that family to be loved. You did not come to that lineage to belong. You did not come to that table to have a seat. You were infiltrated into that family. Listen carefully. That family carries a bloodline curse, a poison passed down for centuries, a generational flow of darkness, a demonic pact sealed with covenant. Fear, control, silenced rage, ignored pain, suppressed voices, all of it was that lineage's inheritance, and that inheritance passed like a chain to every new generation. Until you came. You were placed at the final link of that chain. But you were not a link. You were a light assassin. The kingdom of darkness tried to imprison you within that lineage. But you did not remain passive there. You became active there. They thought your silence was surrender, but in that silence you were gathering fire. They thought your tears were defeat, but in those tears you were being sealed. They thought your loneliness was loss, but in that loneliness you were receiving ordination. And now you are no longer the continuation of that lineage. You are the breaker of that lineage, because you are not a victim. You are the divine saboteur. But understand this: a light assassin is not a weapon of violence. A light assassin is a surgeon's scalpel. Precise, elegant, necessary. You do not destroy people. You dismantle lies. You do not attack the wounded. You cut away the infection. You do not spread darkness. You illuminate what has been hidden. That family lived in a web of unspoken rules, toxic patterns, inherited trauma. And you, simply by existing, by questioning, by refusing to carry their poison forward, you became the scalpel that cut through those lies. They felt it, they sensed it, they feared it, and that is why they attacked you. Remember when your father looked at you and you saw emptiness in his eyes. Remember when your mother spoke to you as if you had never spoken at all. Remember when your siblings passed over you like a shadow. You thought these were ordinary family neglects. No. This was demonic oppression. They had become instruments in the hands of the enemy. Their every criticism, their every dismissal, their every rejection, these were demonic assaults. But these attacks were not aimed at your body. They were aimed at your soul, because the kingdom of darkness knew this. If your confidence is shattered, you will never rise. If your voice is silenced, you will never speak. If your worth is erased, you will never ascend. They tried to crush you, but you did not break. They tried to destroy you, but you awakened, and now you understand. Those attacks were not your end. Those attacks were your alarms, because the enemy does not attack randomly. The enemy only attacks souls that pose a real threat. If you were ordinary, they would not have attacked you this intensely. If you were not a threat, they would not have tried so hard to silence you. If you were not powerful, they would not have worked so hard to crush you. Their violence was proof of your value. Their oppression was evidence of your power. And now you are no longer a soul crushed under that oppression. You are a warrior who broke through that oppression. Remember that night. You were alone in the kitchen. It was past midnight, everyone was asleep. There was no sound in the house, only the dull hum of the refrigerator and the sound of your breath. And you were crying, quietly, because even your voice did not belong there. because even your tears were a burden to them, because even your pain was too much for them. You had collapsed on the floor. Your knees touched the cold tile. You covered your face with your hands. And that question fell from your lips. Why me? That question rose to the universe, but no one answered. The sky was silent. The cosmos was frozen. You were so alone you couldn't even hear the sound of your own heartbeat. There was a knot in your throat. You couldn't breathe. Your soul was experiencing such an abandonment ache that it felt like it was separating from your body. Your chest was collapsing inward. Your ribs felt like they were caving in. That suffocating weight, not physical, but somehow more real than anything physical. And in that moment, in the exact center of that deafening silence, something broke. Not inside you, above you. That night, the angels were at your coronation. Those tears were not loss. They were consecration. That pain was not defeat. It was a sealing. That loneliness was not an end. It was an ordination. Because heaven was not silent. Heaven was watching. That night you saw yourself truly for the first time. You looked at your own soul for the first time. You realized for the first time. You are different from that house. You are different from that table. You are different from that lineage. And that difference was your anointing. That night you wept like a victim. But you rose from that night like a king. But let me tell you the truth, no one speaks. Being the chosen one is not only power, it is a crushing loneliness. Because you did not choose this gift. This gift chose you, and the price was your childhood. While other children played, you were studying survival. While other children felt safe, you were scanning for danger. While other children bonded with their families, you were protecting yourself from yours. You were robbed of innocence. You were robbed of ease. You were robbed of the simple, beautiful experience of being a child who is loved. And now you carry this power, this light assassin anointing, this breaker authority. But with it comes a weight. You see things others don't see. You feel things others don't feel. You carry responsibilities others will never understand. This is the paradox. Your gift is your glory, but your gift is also your cross. You were chosen for this, but you were also sacrificed for this. And some nights, even now, even after all this awakening, you will still feel that ache, that longing for a childhood you never had, that grief for the family that could have been. And that is okay. You are allowed to grieve what was stolen. You are allowed to mourn what never was. You are allowed to feel the weight of this gift, because it is heavy. Being the light in a dark lineage is heavy. Being the breaker in a cursed bloodline is heavy. Being the one who sees, who feels, who carries it is heavy. But listen to me. You can carry it. Because you were forged for this. Because heaven equipped you for this. Because the anointing on your life is sufficient for this. Your family was not simply bad people. They were souls blinded by light. Imagine a creature that has lived in a cave for generations. Its eyes have adapted to darkness. Darkness is all it knows. Darkness is safe. Darkness is familiar. And then one day a light appears. Not a harsh, violent light, but a soft, steady, true light. And that light does not attack the creature. The light simply exists. But to the creature, that light is unbearable. It burns its eyes. It exposes the cave. It reveals the filth, the decay, the lies the creature has been living in. And so the creature does not embrace the light. The creature attacks the light. This was your family. They lived in generational darkness, fear, control, unspoken rage, suppressed truth. That was their cave. And they had adapted to it. It was all they knew. And then you were born. And you carried light. Not because you tried to. Not because you were arrogant or superior. Simply because you were made of light. And your light, just by existing, exposed their cave. It showed them their dysfunction. It revealed their pain. It illuminated the lies they had been telling themselves for decades. And they could not bear it. So they did not attack you because you were bad. They attacked you because your light blinded them. But you were a diamond in that darkness. And do you know what happens to a diamond in darkness? It is not seen at first. It is overlooked. It is stepped on. It is buried. But the more pressure applied, the more it is cut. The more it is shaped, the sharper it becomes. Every attack honed you. Every rejection refined you. Every moment of invisibility crystallized your brilliance. And now, when light finally touches you, you do not just reflect it. You refract it. You multiply it. You amplify it. You send it out in 1,000 directions. That is what you have become. Not just a carrier of light, but a prism. That family carried a curse, a dark covenant passed down through centuries, a poison flowing from generation to generation. Fear, control, manipulation, silenced voices, all of it was that lineage's inheritance, and that curse was supposed to continue through you. But you broke it. You are not the final link of that lineage. You are the breaker of that lineage. Because you did not carry that curse in your own soul. You did not pass it to your own children. You did not let it seep into your own life. You saw that curse. You rejected that curse. You extinguished that curse. And now that curse is no longer active, because you sealed it. That bloodline curse ends with you. That dark pact breaks with you. That chain melts with you. And the generations that come after, your children, your grandchildren, your legacy, they will not carry that chain. Because you annihilated that chain. This message did not reach you by accident. You are reading this because you are awakening now, because the fire within you is roaring, because you can no longer bear to play the victim role. Now the time has come. Accept your cursed gift. Take that pain, that loneliness, that rejection, that invisibility, and hold it as a scepter of sovereignty. Because you are no longer an ordinary human. You no longer have the luxury of living a normal life. You have been appointed, and this appointment is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. You can no longer live as a victim. You can no longer remain silent. You can no longer stay invisible. Because you are not the continuation of that lineage, you are the judge of that lineage. You broke that bloodline curse. Now you will carry that power. You dissolved that dark pact. Now you will spread that light. You emerged from that energy prison. Now you will lead others out. But here is what I want you to understand. You do not have to fight anymore. The war is over. You already won. Not in the future. Not someday. Already. The moment you saw the curse, you won. The moment you refused to carry it forward, you won. The moment you chose light over darkness, you won. So now, breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let that fire in your chest quiet into a steady glow. You do not have to prove anything anymore. You do not have to fight anyone anymore. You do not have to earn your worth anymore. You are already worthy. You are already powerful. You are already free. This is not the beginning of a battle. This is the recognition of a victory already won. Now rise, not in war, but in peace. Hold your scepter, not to strike, but to govern. Walk into your kingdom, not to conquer, but to reign. Because you are no longer the victim. You are the light assassin, and your work is complete. You are free. You are powerful. You are the chosen one. And now, finally, you can rest.